Da-da, da-da, da-da.
A cold front is moving on through, and we've got some showers and thunderstorms running around on the radar. We're going to take a look at that. And there's also some heavier thunderstorms across the Gulf states, especially right near the Gulf Coast. We're going to take a look at that. There's some action in the southwest. It's just mid-July summertime weather that we're dealing with, and that is our focus of attention tonight and much more on the Joe and Joe Weather Show on this Tuesday, the 12th of July. Uh,
It is the 12th.
it is. Yes, it was the 12th all day. And
Yes.
I was 61 this morning here. It was nice and cool.
I was 61 once.
Right. Well, that day has passed.
Those days are gone, my
Yes,
friends.
it'll
We
be
thought they'd never end.
ticking up.
Yes.
So, before we get started, before we get into weather, I just wanted to ask you. So I kind of thought maybe you'd be talking about this and showing pictures from the what was it, the Webb telescope, or the
Yeah, the James Webb Telescope. It's
yes,
pretty amazing how the as I posted an example on Facebook of the Hubble image versus the Webb image, and it's so amazing how the contrast and it just is so much better, Joe, than and you think about it when Hubble was first came into being back in the 90s. We said, "Oh my goodness, what a view! These are magnificent pictures." And now we've actually gone one step better. When you realize that the Hubble Space Telescope is only about 80 inches wide, and meanwhile, the various segments that go into the James Webb Telescope measure something like 256 plus inches across, so much bigger. I mean, there's no contest. The Hubble has served us well, but remember, that was technology from the 80s and 90s, and the Webb telescope now is the current technology, which is so much better than what we've had up until now. So just amazing that and the images can be found. The first few images can be found, I'm sure, by simply going on online and typing in James Webb Telescope, and you can probably get it off of Google Images. One of the images, by the way, was of Stephan's quintet, five galaxies, which a lot of you have seen pictures of before, if not regularly, at least every year in December. Those of you who are fans of the movie, the Jimmy Stewart movie, It's a Wonderful Life, know that the movie begins with this cosmic scene when it appears that stars and galaxies are talking to each other, and then they call in Clarence, the apprentice, um, angel first class, to go down to Earth to help Jimmy Stewart or help George Bailey. But that image was taken with at the time was the best telescope around, which was probably the Yerkes Observatory telescope. Is a black and white image, and you compare that to what we now got in the last 24 hours, the James Webb Telescope taking a photograph of this very same quartet of galaxies, and it's like the difference is like night and day. It just absolutely amazing. So science and technology has moved forward once again in a major way. But for the moment, our thoughts are not so much on astronomy, but on meteorology, because there are parts of the tri-state area that are under the gun with a severe thunderstorm watch. And we even had a tornado warning at one point, Joe, over parts of northwestern New Jersey about an hour and a half ago. That has gone the way of the world, but there's still a few potent storms out there, and we're tracking them for everybody.
yeah, kind of mixed results. I'll bring up the radar. The uh, Some of the storms up in northern New England actually were and are uh, on the intense side. We've got three severe thunderstorm warnings working right now at 7:36. and a couple of others, one in southeastern New Hampshire that just sort of came and went there, and then there's one warning box near and just north of Hartford, and then the middle part from there on south there's kind of a gap, and yeah, there was that one big one strong cell. It wasn't big in terms of the geographic coverage, but there was one fairly strong cell that came in along and north of Route 78, and as you said, there was a tornado warning for parts of Warren, Sussex, western Morris County, and Northampton County in northeastern Pennsylvania, but that's all gone by. And much of what now is moving through southwest Connecticut and New York City and down along the New Jersey coast is on the weakish side. There's a couple of stronger cells, one near Atlantic City, another one down near Cape May. The Cape May cell, the warnings expired. And then the southern half of the line was pretty active across Maryland into northern Virginia, and still is, by the way, as that area moves to the southeast. And I'm watching for me, see if they survive. There's some big cells up in Tennessee, in north central Tennessee, that are moving southeastward, and then there's some stuff down in South Georgia that's just sort of laying there, part of the Gulf area of Gulf moisture. But in between, it's been pretty quiet. I'll have to see. It would be interesting to see for me if we get some of these night cells survive and move through the overnight. But as far as the Northeast is concerned, once this plays through in the next couple of hours, it should be pretty much done with. There's also a couple of stronger cells that are coming into western Massachusetts and on the New York side as well, around I-90. Those are moving east. So it's another one of these cold fronts. The rain from this was really nothing much to write home about. And certainly those areas in upstate New York that have received less than an inch of rain in the last 5 weeks, it didn't put down much, even though some of the storms were strong in parts of upstate New York. You didn't really put down very much as far as rainfall is concerned. And we're going to be,
But I will add, Joe, that I will add that anything would be good at this point, because I've noticed now that there are some large brown patches beginning to appear on both my front and my back lawn. And so, I mean, even a gentle shower for a short interval of time would help. At least the grass would be quenched a little bit. I noticed in doing a little survey of some of the local TV weathercasters now. Oh, thank goodness. Well, we're very lucky we didn't see any of that precipitation roll through the immediate tri-state area. And I'm saying to myself, are we lucky? Really lucky? I don't have a sprinkler system for my front or my back lawn, so the grass could have used just a little bit of moisture. And we're getting into, last week we were touching upon how portions of New England were getting into drought to moderate drought. I said we have been lucky here in New York State, but if we went much longer without any precip, we'd start joining the drought club as well. And I got to tell you that it's more than just a little dry out there now, and it looks like we may not see much of a chance of any kind of precipitation of significance now until maybe sometime, it would appear, early next week.
Yeah, unless there's some kind of weak disturbance that's not making itself known at the moment in the flow. Yeah, I would tend to agree with you. Not going to see very much between now and then. I got the northeast loop up that's got the lightning flashes on it, so you can see where these thunderstorms are more active than not. And a lot of lightning strikes going on in northern Virginia, on up into eastern Maryland. You can see the dying cell on the New Jersey coast, the cells that are one in northern Connecticut and western Massachusetts moving along, and also the cells that are up in Maine that are moving along as well. But we're not too far away from the dry line, because if you go, draw a line from about Pittsburgh northeast to about Albany, from there north and west, partially clear skies. There's some patches of broken clouds, but for the most part, partially clear skies. So once this front is done, we should see some general improvement move our way. And I'm just going to widen out to the U.S. Satellite loop, or at least let's get this to load and take a look at what's going on elsewhere. And we do have that Gulf moisture that's been sitting, there's an upper trough here in the Gulf of Mexico. showing no signs of tropical development. We talked yesterday about the fact that conditions there were fairly hostile for tropical cyclone formation, and they remain that way. The cold front stands out on the U.S. loop here. And again, the speckled spots you see are where you're seeing lightning strikes going on. So there's some also up in the western lakes. The plains are quiet. The northern Rockies are quiet. The southwest picking up some shower and thunderstorm activity from the monsoon action. And by the way, just go back into the Gulf of Mexico. One of the things that you could see pretty well. There's an upper low here sitting in the southeast Gulf of Mexico. It's fairly well defined. So all the winds in the upper atmosphere across the northeast, the northern Gulf of Mexico, are from the northeast, and this is a cold feature in the upper atmosphere. There's nothing tropical really about it. So this is the sort of thing that has to sit down there for the better part of a week or more if it's going to wind up developing into anything tropical. And the Hurricane Center continues to mention in their outlook, focusing on the heavy rains for the Gulf Coast, but that's pretty much it as far as that's concerned. The Storm Prediction Center, watching these, they got these severe thunderstorm watches up for Maine, all the way down into West Virginia and Western Virginia. The severe thunderstorm watch that goes from southeastern New York to about New York City and southwest toward Delaware. That's getting gradually eaten away now as what's left of the showers and storms moves east. They move eastward, and again, they really look fairly weak as they head out toward the coast. Marginal risk up in the western lakes, marginal risk up in parts of northeastern Colorado, southeastern Wyoming, and western Nebraska for tomorrow. And for the next day, we just have two areas of marginal risk, one back in Montana again, and another area of marginal risk from central Mississippi northeastward to southeastern Virginia for day 3. Take a look at that. Day 3 is the period for Thursday into Friday. Eastern North Carolina, South Carolina, Central Georgia, Southern Alabama, southern half of Alabama, southernmost Mississippi, Southeast Louisiana in a marginal risk, and also a marginal risk in the northern plains. Rainfall the next 7 days. There's some patchy areas of 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch in New England down to Virginia, but the heavier rains along the Carolina coast of up to a couple of inches. Now, they've been going at it for days now anyway, so it's on top of what's already fallen. And, of course, the Gulf Coast continues to show an area there of possibly as much as 10 inches of rain in southeast Louisiana and in southernmost Alabama and Mississippi, at least touching the coastline there. You see the activity in the southwest from the monsoon, a little bit of activity in and around the western lakes, but for the most part, everybody else is kind of in summertime mode. And once again, Joe, as I look at the long range, and I was looking at this upper air on the latest GFS run, and it shows again nothing that says to me that this overall pattern is going to change in the next 2 weeks. Troughs keep dropping into the east, and it keeps showing this very deep trough. Look at this. I know it's 2 weeks from now. It showed this yesterday. It's showing it again today. That is a really crazy looking upper air for July 28th, where you have two very strong vortexes in Canada, one south of James Bay, another one that's in northernmost Canada that looks like it's going to come right down behind it, and a strong northwest flow from northwest Canada into the Ohio Valley and into the east. I mean, this is just a crazy setup for late July if this materializes.
Now this is how many hours now? This is the
last day on this is the 384, and it very much looks like what we saw yesterday.
That's pretty. That looks coolish, and it also looks a bit possibly wet. And yet, when you look at the Climate Prediction Center, they're calling for above normal temperatures and near normal precipitation in the Northeast for the next 6 to 10 days to the next 2 weeks. There doesn't seem to be any sign of cool or near normal temperatures. So I don't know. They may be looking at something
If it's above normal, it's not going to be a lot above normal for one thing. I mean, you go through this period here. I'm just kind of looking at this. So after Monday, as the last, the most recent trough pulls out, uh, you do get sort of a flattish ridge, and the northwest flow pulls up a little bit into Canada for much of next week before it starts to drop back in as you get around, say, July 24th, 25th. You start to get the troughing dropping back down into the eastern states. I mean, I wouldn't call that any kind of pattern change. I certainly, if they're going above normal, I mean, how much above normal? 1 degree above normal? 2 degrees above normal? I still don't think it says anything about what we were talking about yesterday with regards to prolonged serious heat. That just doesn't seem to be in the cards.
Yes, I would agree. That it does not look like a prolonged or protracted spell of unusually hot temperatures. I certainly now I don't know what the Central Park temperature was today. Do you know if they hit 90 or did they
Um,
fall just short?
Hold on, let's take a look. Sunny today, high in the mid 80s. Clear tonight, low mid 60s. Let's take a look and see what they did today. La 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 la. 88 at 7 o'clock. And just let's see the dew points are in the upper 60s. Well, now, okay, it got the max temperature as of 1 p.m. was 89. The 2 o'clock observation temperature was 89. 87 was the 3 o'clock temperature, and 88 was the 4 o'clock temperature. So I would say that it's possible that it got to 90 there in between hours in that one short period. I'll pull up the climate.
Right.
Let's see if what they said in there. Uh, Climate and past weather from the National Weather Service. Okay, so the
Because
day.
they've only hit 94 times so far this summer season, and according to our friend Rob Friedowitz, who keeps track of these things, the average at Central Park, the number of 90-degree days during a typical summer season is 17, I believe. So we're a bit below the norm for 90-degree days at Belvedere Castle.
All right, I'm still having, when they changed the climate page, they changed it um, back a few months ago. So it's a little, I'm trying to figure out how to use this thing. July 22nd, today being the 12th. So let's do I guess is it the Daily Almanac, I suppose. So let's see what that says. Processing. Okay. All right, so today's the 12th. So Bridgeport, missing. Okay, so that's helpful.
So there you go. We can hang our hat on that,
Let me
right?
try this again. Let me try this again. Okay, let's go to that one. Let's go to July 12th. Uh, daily data for a month. Daily almanac. Calendar day summaries. I guess that would probably be the best one to go for. Oh, now they're asking me for a year range. You know what, Joe? I don't know. It got to 89 on
Yeah,
the hour. Maybe it got to 90 in between hours. They used to put that summary out at like 4:30 in the afternoon, and you should just be able, you were able to just go and click on it. But now apparently,
right.
it's a big treasure hunt that we have to get under. I'm gonna just, I want to bring up the 12Z run of the GFS just to take a look at it if it does the same thing. See, now I'm looking at this here. All right, so we've got this trough this week. There's a second piece to this trough that's going to come through on Thursday. With that I threw in that there could be a chance of a scattered shower or storm on Thursday with that, and then the trough kind of lingers into Saturday, starts to, see now the 12Z run, Joe, has there's an upper low that drops down from Labrador, and the trough goes into New England. early next week. So it's a cooler look than what the 18Z run has. And then there's an upper low near Lake Winnipeg that drops in right behind it on Thursday and settles down into an upper low that moves into Ohio and West Virginia for the weekend of the 23rd, 24th. It just sits there for about 3 days. Now, if that's correct, that would probably support the idea of maybe some shower and thunderstorm activity from time to time, starting late next week and then lasting through next weekend, not the weekend that's coming up now. And then there's a cutoff low that it forms north of the Great Lakes with a trough down to Alabama on that 384 hours. So it's not as it doesn't have that cool, it's not quite the cool look that you saw on the 18Z run, but in that middle period, it's cooler than what the 18Z run has. So yeah, I think it's a stretch to call it above normal. If it is above normal, maybe technically it's above normal because when you do the averages from low to high, you wind up maybe +1 or +2. But again, if you're looking for 90 plus, if you're looking for 5 or 6 days in a row of 90 plus weather, if you couldn't get to 90 today, it's going to be it's going to be a real struggle if you're dealing with a pattern that's going to have some clouds around from time to time and maybe some showers around from time to time as well. So I'm not impressed.
Okay, well, there you go, folks. Joe Chiaffi, not impressed whatsoever. So
I'm not impressed. Not impressed. And in fact, I'll even look at the European just to see if the European.
But the European only got 240 hours.
No, I know, but at least that's 10 days, which is a little bit more reasonable than 16. All right, so trough lifts out. Another little arm goes into New England. I mean, our heights here are actually in the normal range next week, early next week, and even into the middle of next week. And then there's a stronger trough toward the end of next week that comes into the northeast. So this would probably engineer maybe another shot of cool, dry air from Canada. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not seeing it. Not impressed.
Okay. And it takes a lot to impress Joe Chiaffi, ladies and gentlemen. He's like the Alex Sahente of weather. You remember Alex Sahente?
Of course, I remember
Alex Sahente approves, and the people are happy.
Yes, exactly. All right, let's run the Europeans precip. Let's see what that looks like for the next 10 days. Kind of curious here, so we'll put up the total accumulated precip over the next 10 days. And running it here through on the loop as we go day to day. So we're up to now 3 days. We are now.
I'm seeing on the chat board a lot of people agreeing with me. Like, for example, Civilian Warrior, good day to you, sir. Could use some rain here in, I believe the abbreviation is Fairfield County. And we, again, I think a lot of people could use even just a little bit of precipitation. It's one thing to, I gave my wife her tomato plants a nice little drink today, but I felt bad for the grass. I said, well, there's a lot of grass out there, and I'm not going to haul my hose all the way out to the middle of the lawn to give the grass. It'd be nice if somebody up there looking skyward would provide us with even a 5-minute shower, but that looks like it's not going to be the case.
Yeah, the European over the next 10 days, it's a summertime looking precip map. So it's got this little stripe of a couple of inches, 2 or 3 inches in the Hudson Valley, east across Connecticut and Massachusetts. But on either side of that, it's got basically 1.5 inches or less over the next 10 days. A little more impressive down across the Gulf Coast, which you would expect. The GFS for the 10-day period has, again, from precip wise, it's got a stripe of 1.5 inches, 2 inches from western Long Island, southwest to south central PA. But on either side of that, it's got 1/2 to 3/4, and in fact, a lot of parts of upstate New York less than 1/4 inch. A lot of parts of New England less than 1/4 inch. A little more robust along the coastal Carolinas down into Florida and along the Gulf Coast. But that pretty much sums that model up. I'm sorry, this is only out to 138 hours. So this is actually through Monday. I just realized that the new run is only out to 138 hours. So if I go to the
Yes.
12Z, let's take a look, go out further, at least match it up to 10 days on the GF, on the European. Okay, I mean, it's a little bit more when you go out 10 days. It actually has 2 or 3 inches along the coastal plain from Chesapeake Bay to southern Connecticut, and a darker stripe of 4 inch plus over central and northern New Jersey into Long Island. If we get into one of these situations where we got showers and thunderstorms that are popping up in patches and sitting, the flow's not going to be all that fast, so you get, maybe you can get, some of these storms to sit around for a while over a given spot. I mean, that falls into I don't know land at this point, but again, I'm not seeing any kind of widespread, all of a sudden that we're going to go to the Noah's Ark flood here, from what I'm looking at. And, and as far as the day-to-day is concerned, I'll bring up the radar. How about we do that? Let's bring up the radars and go to starting with tonight. That was another thing. By the way, the GFS tonight had all these big storms from Long Island through New Jersey down into Maryland. It overdid, way overdid it. And on the other hand, all the short range models way underdid it. There's a couple of the short range models didn't even show any thunderstorm activity around for this evening, except in a few areas up in the north, in New England, and a few areas down in the Mid-Atlantic states. Thursday, this upper trough is going to come through here. So I threw in that it could be a scattered shower or storm in 1 or 2 spots Thursday afternoon and evening. And Friday looks good. There'll be some dew point relief on Friday behind that second upper trough, so they'll carry over into a little while on Saturday. Now it keeps doing this. It's got this. Let's see if it's got it on the 18Z. The 12Z had this area of rain coming out of the lower Great Lakes and moving, across Pennsylvania into New Jersey Saturday afternoon. And of course, the 18Z, which I only have a couple of frames of yet so far. Let's roll this back.
Miss Spallerite, by the way, would like everybody to know on the chat board. Can we rerun the last 2 minutes? Her cat just bought her a mouse, and it's live.
Ew. Ew. Yeah, now the 18Z's got nothing for Saturday. And I've been kind of going with the idea that I really didn't think we were going to see much of anything until at the earliest late Sunday afternoon. And where there are some scattered showers and storms, that the model pops up late Sunday afternoon, and then again on Monday, and then that goes out, and then there's another little front that comes through on Tuesday night from that new system up in southeastern Canada. That goes out, and then on it goes. Southwest flow, another little front toward the end of next week with some showers and storms sometime late next Friday, and then that actually stalls, because remember, it's got troughing that's kind of lingering a little bit in the east for that weekend of the 23rd, 24th, 25th, with some showers and storms. Then that goes out. Then another stronger front comes through on Monday, the 25th of July. And after that, we've got another dry air mass, and then an even cooler, drier air mass, as indicated by the GFS, toward the last days of the month. Which again, that's in fantasy land, and we'll deal with that when we, next week when we get a little closer. We'll see if the models are still in the same place. The tropics are quiet, so there's really nothing much we could talk about there. Not going to see anything break out in the tropics anytime soon. So we just continue to plod along here, just kind of just moving along, step by step, inch by inch.
About a quarter to 2 this afternoon, I posted on Facebook. I was basing this mostly on the NAM 3 kilometer, which seemed to match up pretty well with the radar, and the indication was that a narrow, albeit concentrated squall line would hold together and work its way through the tri-state area between 4 and 8 o'clock this evening. And as it turns out, it continued to be concentrated in places, but it didn't hold together as as a solid line. It did break up a bit, and indeed there were storms that passed off to the south of me and to the north of me. We had a lot of threatening-looking skies out there. It really looked for a time this afternoon like it was going to rain any minute, but we haven't had a drop. And it looks like, as you pointed out at the start, Joe, the back edge of the cloud line looks like it's maybe a matter of 4 or 5 hours away. So after midnight tonight, skies should be pretty much clearing out, and we should get a view of that nearly full moon, the moon, the so-called super moon, if you're into that sort of thing, coming our way actually officially tomorrow. But it looks like we will have moonlit skies after midnight as the last of the clouds, the lingering cloud cover from this relatively weak cold front moves through and beyond to our east during the next few hours with, again, for many places, not much of any much needed precipitation.
Since I suddenly got inspired here, so in a moment, see surface temperature anomalies. Why don't we take a look at ocean water temperatures here, and on this wide picture, let's open the image up in a new tab. Oh, good, this is a little bigger, so we can look at it this way. So we've been dealing with this La Nina, and it's still out there. That big area of blue that you see, cooler than normal ocean water temperatures of the equatorial Pacific, and extends all the way across into parts of the western Pacific, north of Indonesia. You're seeing the only thing I'd say about this is if we go back over the last couple of weeks, it's probably past its peak. It was a little bit more extensive, and the anomalies were a little higher maybe a couple of weeks ago. It's still there, but it might be, past its peak in terms of intensity. So we'll see how it holds in the coming weeks. But for now, we still have the La Nina pattern there. And on the Atlantic side, if I can get that in the frame, see if I can get this in the frame. Yes, I can. So the Atlantic, oddly enough, Joe, there's a patch of cool water along 30 degrees north in a narrow band just east of say between, I don't know, 27 or 28 north to about 30 degrees north in the Atlantic, and east of 70 that goes out straight east toward the Canary Islands. South of there, throughout much of the tropical Atlantic and the lower portions of the subtropical Atlantic, ocean water temperatures are running above average by a degree or two. And in the Gulf of Mexico, we're seeing above average water temperatures. We're also seeing above average water temperatures off southeastern New England. Now, I don't know if you've been seeing the stories about all the sharks that are off the coast of Cape Cod. They've been having problems, and even on Long Island, there have been numerous shark sightings and people getting bit here and there. We've got unusually warm shelf water temperatures there, running well above normal by more than 4 or 5 degrees in some cases. The ocean water temperatures are actually above normal in the North Atlantic, going all the way up as well. So it's a fairly extensive area of above average ocean water temperatures. And we also have, interestingly, in the North Pacific, south of the Aleutians, the water temperatures there are also well above average. Now, we'll see what that is in a couple of months, because we're always looking for the idea that maybe that'll drive a negative East Pacific oscillation pattern, and then that spells colder air for the eastern United States in the latter part of the fall, or in the latter part of the fall and in the wintertime. We're always looking for that negative EPO, and many have argued the idea that the water temperatures in the Northeast Pacific or in the Northern Pacific are going to be key to that. I would just say that it's all fine and dandy to see it now, but who knows what it's going to be 6 months from now. And that above normal, all it takes is one huge storm south of the Aleutians to upwell that water, and suddenly it's all below average. So I wouldn't get too excited about what you're seeing there in terms of the anomalies. But the La Nina is still there. And the only other thing I'll add to that, Joe, is the fact that the Pacific is through the D storm. And if this were an El Nino year, or maybe something more akin to normal, you probably would already be up to the I storm in the Pacific or even the J storm by the time you get to the middle part of July. So activity in the East Pacific is relatively subdued, which supports the idea that because when the Pacific is less active, the Atlantic is usually more active. So I think we're still going to get there. It's just that it's not going to happen this week. It's not going to happen next week, and it probably won't even happen the week after. But when we get into August, it's going to rev up like it almost always does.
It probably will. I mean, we've said this time and time again. July is usually a relatively quiet month. I know we've had some active seasons in recent years that we've seen like 4 or 5 storms develop in July. That's more of an anomaly than anything else. What usually happens is that you might have an initial shot of tropical activity in June, then it quiets down in July, and then after, especially mid-August, things really start to rev up. And so that's going to be probably the story this year. We'll just have to, all of you people out there who are waiting for, you know, the hurricanes and the potential, dynamic tropical major categorical cataclysmic events. Hold on, just wait.
Apocalypse is the word we're looking.
Don't worry
Apocalypse.
about it. You'll get it. I don't know if you'll get it. I don't know if your specific town will get it. But if you want to see some major activity, just wait a little while. It'll come to be probably later on in August and on into September. Do we have a chance to take a look at Darby, which was up near a Category 4 yesterday,
Yeah, we could do
but
that.
is expected to wind on down now in the days to come as it moves out over
All
a
right.
cooler realm.
While that loads, I'm going to load Hurricane Durwood, and while that loads, let's go to the. Oh, well, that's good enough. So we'll let that load here, the floater loop. I just want to come back to. I pulled up the temperature anomalies here, and you know what? Let me build a. I'm going to build a forecast GIF, and go to starting at 18. Right? No, let's see. This would be 18Z be 0. So I want to go to 24, and then I'll skip every 3. Let's put this up. So I just wanted to look and see what the GFS was doing in terms of the GIF, the anomalies over the next couple of weeks, rather than go through the nights and the mornings just to pick one time frame. I'm just picking 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So these are high temperatures. So if you look at this, let me bring it up on the screen. You actually could see it there. Again, I mean, you got these days here and there where you go above normal, but more often than not, it's below normal. And that last period, this is for the next 2 weeks. That last frame there, Joe, is the 384 hour. And look how extensive that area of below normal temperatures is. I mean,
Yes, as you used to say, as you might have said, let's say, when I first met you like 40 years ago or whatever, don't be sour. It's the 384
hour. That's correct. And for those, where they've been getting the heat, there actually is some relief. You don't have this extensive heat dome on the models on the last several days because it starts to shift to the west. Now, the west, you'll see a more concentrated area of above normal temperatures and actually quite a bit above normal toward the end of the forecast period, because if you're going to have a deep trough like the GFS has in the west, in the east, you're going to have a strong ridge out in the west. So there's your heat wave. It's up and down the west coast toward the last week of July, if this winds up being correct. But anyway, food for thought as we go forward. And I will now, of course, bring you Hurricane Durwood. If you hold on to your hat. Yeah, I mean, if you look at it from yesterday compared to yesterday, the eye is a little less. You could certainly see it, but the eye is a little less well defined now as it moves to the west. It still hasn't gotten north of 15 degrees north. It's kind of still sitting there at 14.6, 131.2, moving west at 17 with top winds of 115 miles an hour. And yeah, it's definitely past its peak. So you're probably going to see this start to slowly weaken, particularly once it gets toward 140 and beyond. The Hurricane Center is not really doing very much with this at all, other than taking it south of Hawaii and weakening it. But again, not nearly as impressive as what it was yesterday. And yeah, they have by 8 a.m. Saturday, they have a remnant tropical depression about maybe 300 miles southeast of the Big Island of Hawaii, moving westward.
Yeah.
I mean, is it up there?
Hello?
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm here. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
it's they have it as a hurricane up through Thursday morning, then they weaken it to a tropical storm, and it makes sense. There's a upper low out there that's gonna start to shear this apart as it moves westward. It always amazes me how Hawaii really escape. You would think that from where they are, that every once in a while, one of these storms that comes in from the east would hold together in intensity and come in as a Category 2 or a Category 3, and it just doesn't happen. They stand us a higher chance of something developing to the south of them deeper into the hurricane season that's moving northward to have some power. Those, when you look back at the history of hurricanes in Hawaii, the ones that have done the most damage are the ones that have come up from the south and have formed inside their, you know, what used to be
Central.
the Central Pacific hurricane, or maybe it still is the Central
Right.
Pacific hurricane um,
Right.
hurricane center there out of Honolulu. But yeah, you would think that every once in a while one of these storms that forms in the Eastern Pacific would survive all the way across and hit them head on. But there's always something out there that shears it apart. There's like a semi-permanent upper low that's out there that just rips these things to pieces by the time they get close.
The one storm I remember was a Nicky.
Right.
I think that was 1992, and that did a number on Kauai. I felt very bad because the year before I went on a cruise. Renata and I were on a cruise to Hawaii, and we thought that Kauai was probably the most beautiful of all the islands that we visited. And then a year later, look what ends up happening is that they get a major hurricane. I'm sure now it's back to normal after all of these years. That was like 30 years ago and everything. But initially, after a year or two after that hurricane passed on by, it took a while for them to put everything back into place again. And you're right. Most of the storms that affect Hawaii are usually the ones that develop in the central Pacific that then curve and move northward, as opposed to the ones that start off of, let's say, Baja California, and then take the long trek westward to toward Hawaii, because they eventually just kind of fizzle out. And case in point, what is happening right now to Darby?
Can you see the super chat hits at all? Because we do have a super chat hit or hits.
I will.
I can't see. I'm not seeing who they are.
I'm going up and down the list, and if there were super chat, and I do know that we did have super chat hits earlier on in the show, but now we've been on long enough so that those super chat hits have now gone the way of the world, so to speak.
Yeah, I
I'm
don't
going up
I
and
didn't.
down.
So whoever it was, or whoever they are, or whoever you are, thank you for hitting super chat. I'm trying to pull it up also on my because I could on my control panel I can pull up the viewer activity, and it's not showing up there either. So I'm sorry, whoever it was that hit the super chat, or whoever, if it was more than one person, thank you very much for doing that. It's most appreciated. So
Yes,
anyway,
yes.
any other thoughts before we wrap it up tonight?
No, we'll be on tomorrow night, and I guess we're going to be on Thursday, and we won't be on Sunday because you're
Right.
having a family get
Thing.
together
Yeah, so we'll take it
thing.
straight through Thursday this week, and then we'll take Sunday off. I think that will work out That will
That's
work
good
out
because I'll be,
perfectly.
when Renata and my daughter leave to go to Florida for a few days, I'll be fending for myself. I'm happy to say that my mom and my sister have asked, if I'd like to come over and visit them in the Bronx on Saturday, and I will do that. That's one day I don't have to worry about dinner, but Friday, Sunday, and Monday I'll have to figure out what I'm going to do.
Yeah,
I'll start checking.
I have a freezer full of chicken and I've got these. I'm gonna make these on Sunday. I got these beautiful 3 inch. They're like 3 inches thick, 3 inch thick uh, ribeye pork chops, and I'm going to be doing those on Sunday in the cast iron skillet and then throwing them in the oven to finish them off. So I am looking forward to that. I also have some filet mignon in there too, which I'm going to try maybe before the weekend. And I've got tons of chicken, tons of salmon. So I'm good. If the world comes to an end tomorrow,
Let's see.
I have a nice supply of food to last me a couple of weeks.
Let's see. I may have to check the airlines, and I'll see whether or not how much it costs to fly on down to Georgia, and maybe I'll be knocking on your door on Sunday or Monday.
Well, then you'll have to rent a car at Atlanta Airport, which is not cheap. I will tell you, it is not cheap.
All
But yeah,
right.
you are certainly welcome here. You are certainly more than welcome here to come in and enjoy the cabin lifestyle for which this is. And
Hey, I don't exactly,
yeah,
I'm not exactly living in a modern. I'm not living in a Park Avenue skyscraper, darling. I mean, we're pretty rustic here where I am, but maybe not quite as rustic as where you are. So it
no,
sounds like
yeah, it's rustic here. I mean, it is rustic. I mean, you can find whatever you need.
I mean, I
The one thing
it's not.
the one thing we don't have here, which I really wish we did have, I should call my uncle because they're one of my uncles because they're both bakers and they had bakeries in the New York. My uncle Johnny still owned. I think he made the bread that the Italian bread that they sell in supermarkets. I think he supplies like 3/4 of the supermarkets in New Jersey, and he's in his 80s. He's in his 80s and he still works, the 80-hour weeks to run his business. He loves to work and he's always been that way. I should tell him because we could really use a bakery here. We have a really really good bakery if you want cakes and pies and that sort of stuff. But we don't have one that has bread. We need like a bread bakery. So I'm gonna maybe call my uncle and tell him open a bread bakery up here. You'll make a fortune.
Well, again, I'm not exactly in Hooterville, and I don't exactly have to go to Pixley for my mail, but I'll tell you, on Saturday, I went to the local post office in Putnam Valley, and I walked into the post office. Nobody was in there, and I stepped up to the front desk. They have a little bell, and I rang the bell, ding, 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 and then I said, "Hello, anybody there?" And I was in there for 5 minutes. Nobody was responding. Thank you very much, Izzy D, for hitting super chat. By the way, on the chat board right now, I'm waiting in there for 5 minutes, Joe, and then suddenly I see a gentleman coming in holding a cup of coffee, and he goes in through like a side entrance of the post office, and he works his way in and out, and suddenly there he is behind the desk in front of me, and it was obvious he had decided that, hey, nothing's going on, I can go out and get some coffee, and he left. And the post office was, I have to tell you, the post office was wide open. There was only one person in that entire post office. If I wanted to vault over the front desk while he was away and go in the back to check out what kind of mail there was back there, and I could have done that. I couldn't believe it that's the story at my post office.
Well,
So I mean,
I had to go to the Hooterville post office today to bring a letter that I got that for the prior owners that was in my mailbox. I got there just in time before the horses were leaving to take the mail down to Atlanta, so that was that was a good plus. But I also did go to. I also went to Home Depot, and I went to the local the southern supermarket chain. One of the ones that's down here is Ingles, Ingles. Nice supermarket, horrifically expensive because it's the only supermarket in town. So their prices are absolutely off the wall, and for what I needed, I didn't really want to go to Walmart to get it, so I just sort of I bought a loaf. I bought a loaf of Italian bread, the panella, the round Italian bread. Okay, which
Right,
it's not bad.
right.
It's some Italian company that ships it of some sort. It's $5 for a loaf of bread. $5 for a loaf of bread.
Wow.
I mean, the prices were just for a lot of the stuff. A box of crackers, Joe. A box of crackers, a box of Ritz crackers, $5. I mean, that's just
Wow.
the prices are crazy. And I'm sure, I'm sure. I know it's not just here, with inflation and everything else. Some of the prices on some of this stuff was just just totally nuts. Just absolutely nuts. Yes, Izzy, they have a lot of. There's a Home Depot. Every town that I've been through um, here, because the towns are like 20 or 25 miles apart. They all have Home Depots, and some chain stores are there too. Aldi's is opening here. In fact, it looks like the building that they're constructing is going to be done really soon. They probably will be open by September, October. So looking forward to that. But I went to the farmers market today because they have a farmers market on Tuesday and on Saturday. So I picked up some fresh local grown vegetables, some zucchini, some tomatoes, and some asparagus because I love asparagus. So I have that was some of the extra stuff that I got today, and they're pretty reasonable. The tomatoes are really good, so better than the stuff that you get into the supermarket. Okay,
Do you miss
anyhow,
do you miss do you miss pizza night?
well,
Friday night, Friday nights.
honestly, no. I mean, you know, over the years, you eat so much pizza after a while between your kids' pizza parties with soccer and everything else, and then the work pizza parties. Uh, I think I calculated how many pizzas over the course of my career that were brought into the newsroom, and I came to something like 10,000. It was over 10,000 um, pies or 10,000 slices, whatever it was. Um, but unfortunately, I haven't had pizza. The last time I had pizza was probably before I got sick. So, and I made it myself, and it was really good. Uh,
Right.
and that was almost a year ago. And I won't, there's some local pizza places here that no, I'm just not doing it. However, you get close to Atlanta, there's actually some really good pizza places. There are a couple of places where people that had businesses in New York came down here and opened up businesses. I forgot the name of one. It's very well known, and the pizza there is outstanding. Unfortunately, with my Crohn's, I can't really eat it because of the cheese. So, uh, I mean, I could eat it and then I'll suffer greatly afterward for it, and so will the people around me. So I just haven't had any. So now that you put that thought in my head, I'm going to be craving it. But
Yeah.
I'm not. I wouldn't dare. I wouldn't dare. Chinese food places. I'm the wrong person, Eric Robertson, to ask that question because out of these lips, okay, out of these lips, the one phrase that has never been uttered is "I'm in the mood for Chinese food." Okay, I just it's one of these things that if it's there and somebody in my house ordered Chinese food for dinner, fine, I would eat it. I have no problem with it. It's not that I dislike it, but I'm not Chinese food's not my thing. I just haven't. I never have had a desire to run out and say, you know what, I want to get Chinese food. Just doesn't happen. Has never happened and never will happen. And no, Izzy,
Okay.
I won't be coming up anytime soon, unfortunately. I can't do it right
A
now.
lot of people miss you, Joe.
I
You know,
appreciate that.
we're waiting for that. We're waiting for that time when you come back, and so this way we can all get together and have a Joe and Joe,
Yeah,
not a reunion, but
I
a
can't
Joe
do
and
it.
Joe convention.
I can't do it. Well, first of all, I got to get my Thankfully Friday I'm having surgery to get the screw out of my
Get the
leg,
screw out.
the screw out of
Right.
my foot, and then I should be fine. I should be able to walk with no problem. But unfortunately, my other problem is the fact that if I have to drive, because I can't fly. I'm not going to fly. Uh, the worst thing you could do for somebody in my condition right now is to lock them inside an airplane because if I have to go to the bathroom, I ain't coming out. I mean, I hate to be so, uh, let's say, too much information, but that's the reality of it. If I get a Crohn's attack while I'm at 30, up at 30,000 feet, there's going to be a plane full of people that will not be happy. So, so, so I don't want to put myself in that situation. And then driving means that I have to stop every 2 or 3 hours um, before, I have to stop every couple of hours, and it's going to take me forever. Anyway, so just a second. John, just hang on, okay? Give me 30 seconds. Hang on. Um, anyway, let's wrap it up. I got a phone call I got to take. So everybody, have a great night. We'll see you, Joe and I'll see you tomorrow night at 7:30 Eastern. Good night, everybody.
Bye bye. Nighty night.